Hello, loves. This is Emme Rain, founder of Magical Mystic Divinity Academy, Moments of Mindfulness TV show and podcast personality, owner of Dimensions Lounge in Boston Entertainment, Lanico Media House. I really never talk about the fact that I am a bona fide publisher. I have been a book publisher now for this is 2024. So it has been 16 years. Wow. Time just zooms right by, right? So I'm smiling because y'all know anytime I start a video and my face is like this and I can't quit grinning, you know I'm on some bullshit. I cuss. Okay. So that's just a tidbit for anybody who may be watching me that's new. But today I want to talk about Moses, Aaron, God of the Bible, and what they have to do with you today, now in your life. So, for those who don't know, before I became a mystic, I was a preacher for over 18 years. Very good at preaching, not very good at living as a Christian. Like almost everybody I know that was a Christian, right? It's always easier to preach it at other people than it is to apply it to your own life. But anywho, so even after I became a mystic, I did not cast the Bible aside because the book is actually more powerful when you get it free from the bondage of the myth of Christianity. But I'm not here to ruffle no feathers, even though that's kind of what happens when the truth is told. I'm here to share a message. So, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the God of the Old Testament started hearing all of the cries and pleas of his people who were in bondage. They were slaves in Egypt, the story goes. And so, getting to the place where he was fed up with, I guess the cries reached a certain pitch, you could say. He said, it's time for me to free my people. You know what I'm saying? They've been in this situation 200, 300, 400 years, right? Now I'm going to do something about it. It's been too long. So he decides to do something about it. And by doing something about it, he needs to find a person that he can do something about it through. He needs a representative. He needs a channel, a portal, a conduit into this world where he can be powerful. And all of this, I'm going to make it make sense. So just stick with me. So he finds Moses. And he decides to have a conversation with Moses through the only medium that I guess he could find, which was a burning bush. He wanted to make sure that he knew you ain't talking to no regular degular ass God. I'm the shit. Let me look at this bush burning but not being burned up, right? It's just hot. You know what I'm saying? This is why I'm hot. This is the bush. So he's telling them, you are talking to me, and this is what I need you to do because God has heard you and your people. And even though you've been treated better than most of them by the people, by the oppressors, what I need you to do is to go and free your real people, your blood people, your kind, right? And then here's Moses. You can imagine God pulling up on a nigga on the street corner, trying to sell some drugs, make a little money, feed his family. He hustling. He trying to figure it out. And then God pulls up on him and say, I need you to go free your people, type of thing. Moses was like, oh, sound like a good idea, but I don't know if you noticed, but I the stutter. I can't talk. I ain't talking. You know what I'm saying? What I'm supposed to say to the Pharaoh? I can't talk, nigga. And then, so God said, you know what? I'm gonna give you a help. Take your brother Aaron with you. Aaron? So you watch this play out. And what it turns into, to make a long ass story short, is that Moses goes to Pharaoh of Egypt and he says, God said, let my people go. And Pharaoh, who has many gods, is like, which God we talking about, nigga? Call his name, put a name on it. And so they're having this conversation. Pharaoh like, I ain't supposed to do that. I don't know nothing about your God. Why would I listen to him? And he left his people in our care for 200, 300, 400 years. Why would you listen to him at this point? So anyway, long story short, the miracles start happening. So Moses will do a miracle. the magicians of Egypt will do a miracle. Moses will do another miracle. The magicians of Egypt will answer, replicating the same miracle. And then finally, Moses said, okay, that's it. God said that he killing all the firstborn because since y'all want to play. You know what I'm saying? Since y'all want to play. Now, at that point, anybody with good sense would have said, you know, I think I'm done. I don't want to play this game. They would have said it long before now. But according to the story, every time the Pharaoh was trying to say, okay, fine, send them on out. You know what I'm saying? The same guy who said let him go said, I'm hardening his heart. I don't want him to let him go. It's like, well, what the hell? You asking me to let him go if you don't really want me to let him go? And this is a point that I want to make with you guys. We have been fed these stories of all these broken, egotistical deities so much that we don't trust our own spirit team. We don't trust anything that we can't see, touch, feel, taste, even if we spending all our time in some kind of temple or mosque or church or in spiritual groups and all of that. But we don't trust it because we still believe that there are energies and deities that are out there testing us, playing with us, using us like ants, and being the kid with the magnifying glass burning us. It's hard to trust it. We want to be loved by it. We want to be favored by it, but it's really difficult to trust energies when those are the stories they tell. But anywho, during all this situation, it wasn't until after he got the opportunity to slaughter all of the firstborn of Egypt that didn't listen, right? Which was the majority of them. And then then Pharaoh says, send the people away, which he was intending to do way before the miracles got to that point, right? Way before there was loss of life. And so they go out, and then all of a sudden they're faced with this sea. It's like, what are we supposed to do? And after they're gone, Pharaoh has a change of mind, like, why the hell I'm gonna let them go? We're gonna go slaughter all of them. So they're chasing who they just let go. See, and these are the things you have to ask yourself about when you're reading stories, because here's the other side of the reality. This is a story that acts as if it's in the head of God and the mind of God and in the mind of Moses and the mind of Aaron and in the mind of the Pharaoh and in the mind of the people. And nobody has that power to be in the mind except a being of divine essence or divine being. But I digress. So you have to question these stories. But so they go out and they chasing, and then they're faced with this sea, and then Moses stretches the staff over the sea, and the sea parts. Now, this is one of the final miracles in a long line of miracles of getting them free, because they walk through on dry ground, okay, of a sea. And then once they get safely on the other side, the sea, because Pharaoh's army assumed that, oh, this miracle for everybody. And so they let the sea fall and it drowned all of Pharaoh's army. Okay. Now, after that, okay, because this is where the meat come in. After all of that, they was hungry, and they started saying, you brought us out here for us to die. Even though we done seen the firstborn of Israel die, we done seen a plague, we done seen water, blood rain from the sky and all this shit. We done seen all this shit. We done seen a staff turn to a serpent and back to a staff again. It's like we done seen all this shit that we worried about. Rather, we're going to be able to eat on the other side of this sea that we just walked through again on dry ground. That's how the story goes. And unfortunately, though, the story is very symbolic and very empowering, right? If you know where to look for the power of it. The reality is that most of us, our understanding of God as a concept is a controlling being in the ethers somewhere who watches everything we do and records it and holds it all against us. Very seldomly, it took 400 years, okay, very seldomly moving to assist, but always ready to judge. And so this is the prevalent thought process of Westerners, even if they're not religious, is something of that in there, even if they never grew up to be religious, even if they were raised in something else. This God of the Bible, which is a real entity, not in the Bible, of the Bible, the God of the Bible. So that entity is ingrained in so many different aspects of life, of understanding, of knowledge, of every single structure that we have as a society in the world. Now, so even in Wicca, there's the 3x3 rule, which is, if you send something out, it's coming back to you by 3. So don't ever do anything bad or do anything wrong or do anything wicked or evil. There's the concept of karma in Eastern philosophy, which is you pay for everything that you do, and blah blah blah. Your karma can visit you for many, many lifetimes and beyond. And there's always a fear tactic. There's always a fear tactic with that which rules with ill intent. Okay? And this is what I mean by ill intent. Sure, it is difficult to teach the people and trust that they will do their absolute best with all the knowledge that you give them. Sure, it is easier to control and puppet people. You know what I'm saying? And rope them in with intimidation tactics. Sure. That's easier sometimes, but it actually makes the actual problem worse. That they never grow, that they never learn. Mistakes are necessary for the process of growth and learning and elevation. It is absolutely necessary. I had a conversation, and this is one of the things that triggered this. I had a conversation, and there was somebody, you look at how women doing, and I love Glorilla. I'm not fond of Sexy Red. That's way too far beyond me. And a lot of people might not be able to see the difference. There is an absolute difference. I love Cardi B. I love Megan Thee Stallion. I love Megan Thee Stallion's messages. Okay? Absolutely adore the amount of freedom that her and Glorilla talk about all the time. And so people often say, well, look at what's happening with women and their freedoms and and look at this, it's just so ugly. And then these women are so, and women are also doing it, women and men. And I'm like, okay, we're in a period of overcorrection. It will balance itself out. You got to have patience for it to balance itself out. And I'm going to come back to my story, my Bible story, because I'm going to show you guys something. If you don't have patience for the overcorrection, then you are choosing to stay in the suppression and the oppression. Because anything that you have oppressed and suppressed and pushed down for so long, when you move your hand, it's not going to just start slowly rising. No, there's pressure because it's always wanted to be free, right? There's pressure there. So when you move your hand, there is this burst of all of the energy that's just been pushing back against what is unnatural, okay? So when that happens, the woman who had no rights take way too many rights, way too much liberation. She got her titties in everybody's face. It's like, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? A bitch is free, 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 free. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but it is what it is. So that's where she is. And then after a minute, that energy will settle and she'll begin to see this is just growing pain. This is what all kids do. When they first come out the house, they're not yet settled in what kind of adult they're going to be because they just got their freedom. You don't expect them, or you shouldn't reasonably expect them to be able to live at the same level or caliber of a 40-year-old who has been out there for a while. I don't expect no 20-year-old to see life how I see life. They hadn't had enough of it yet. There are some that do, and they might start even in their teens. But that's not an expectation. That's a celebration of the exception. Now, so After a while, the mind settles. And it's like, okay, this was fun. Now on to reality. I still got bills to pay. I gotta have somewhere to live. I got kids now. I got, you know what I'm saying? Reality and the things that cause you to be successful and have a good life are setting in, and it'll start to level you out. We think that we are the universe, and we are, but we're not. Everything is not your job to jump into. And sure, there'll be these conduits, these portals, they call themselves of the God. Always will be the prophets, so to speak, who will come into your life and tell you this is what you're supposed to do, it. This is how you're supposed to do it, and this is what needs to happen, and you're the one to make it happen, right? And that shit feels good to feel chosen. He, she, they chose me, and I got something to do. I got a purpose, and so now you go out here into the world and you start impressing this will that was given to you upon others. That is the definition of religion, and it is also why it's failing. That's why it's always been failing. That's why there has always been strong, harsh consequences to failing at it, because it could never be successful. So the only thing that keeps it in place is to make people so afraid that they keep trying even though they know they're failing, because at least they're trying. They're a little bit easier to control because at least they're trying. Nobody wants to go to hell. Nobody wants to burn forever. Nobody wants their soul eaten. Nobody wants all these different things, right? So God, who had enough power to light up a bush but not have it burn, who had enough power to infuse a staff and make it magical so that it could part seas and turn into snakes and do all these things. God, who had enough power to destroy in one night every firstborn of a whole fucking country. This God needed Moses to go be the conduit. Because here's the reality. That which is non-physical must have a conduit to be powerful on this side. I see a lot of mystics talking about, oh, we're under evil, we're under evil rulership, we're this, we're that, and I'm so woke, and these are the horrible things that's going on here, and Kamala is evil, and Trump is evil, and all these people are evil, and at least I know, and you know for what? And you're doing what with it? Because that's not really the evil that you're fighting. Kamala is a person. Trump is a person, a very stupid one, but a person, okay? The reality is, what we're fighting against is our own inner evil, using that loosely. Our own inner evil is the ignorance, how we move about our lives, right? And so as we go through spiritual awakenings, we begin to be aware of different divine essences. But because all we've ever known is the stories that we read in books, I have a whole apprenticeship. I've had thousands of students and mentored thousands of people. I don't ever tell them, go read about these spirits in a book. On my shirt, you see Cloudnik. Now, some of you are going to look him up and you're going to be like, what? That's a demon. She had on a shirt of a demon talking about the Bible? Like, oh, demon of money, demon of wealth. And you're going to be done. Because that word turned you off. Because somebody else taught you how to feel about that word. Somebody has taught you how to feel about God. That's why it's real hard for you to embrace your own Godhood. That's why it's real hard for you to listen to the guidance of your oversoul. And that's why it's real difficult for you to beat the circumstances of your life. Because everything, your point of reference is related to some aspect of this divine essence who is looking at everything you do, watching everything you do, judging everything you do, but damn sure is not going to come help you. But that is not the truth for all beings. That is not the bona fide universal truth. Now, are all non-physical beings wholly perfect for you? No. You're going to get along with some energies. Some energies you're going to resonate with, some you won't. But this is the truth. This is the truth of freedom. Spiritual freedom is really that you get to choose. Can't nobody give you a God and make you obey and honor them and blah, blah, blah. Because you are not a subject You are a divine essence yourself. You just happen to take on a body this time. You just happen to come into a physical plane this time. And so this time, you are God embodied. You are the conduit. You are the living, breathing conduit. And if you want to partner with different energies, you feel free to do that. But you are not required to obey any particular energy blindly, not even your mother or your father. Not me. Not no mystic, not no mentor. When I look at the story of Moses, there's 50 million different stories I could tell from his story. But one of the things that get me is, and this is how I'm going to close this. This man went through all that shit, okay? First of all, you got to understand that he was raised by Egyptians because his people cast him out, hoping that he'll live. Because they were killing him, right? They were killing little boys. So he got put in a river to be saved. And he was saved by Egyptians, the very people that he helped this being that he had never really known to betray. Whoa. Okay. Just whoa. That's the first thing. Just flat out. Okay. So you talking about his people. Who are his people? The ones who he shared blood with, or the ones who care for him and take care of him and esteem him highly and love him. But anyway, I digress, because there's more meat to that story and how that came about. But furthermore, he's the one who got to lead all these people who always murmur and complain. It ain't no food. My feet hurt. And da, 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 da. You bringing us out here to die. They question him the whole time. And he's just trying and he's trying. Then God calls him up to a mountain for a transcendent experience. And he see God and he's glowing and he's happy. And he just had a moment and he come back down and he see people worshiping the same deities that they had in Egypt. They done built serpents and built this and they done built all these things and all these idols, and they losing their mind. And he like, what in the hell? And he's so mad and offended about this being that a plague is struck upon the people. Now serpents crawling around, biting them and killing them. Then it's like, if y'all want to be saved from this, then fashion a serpent out of gold. Well, we get gold, but we ain't got food. You got to question these kind of stories. Or brass, hell, it don't matter. Some stories is gold. And you put it up on the pole, and everybody who look up on the brass serpent will be saved from the real serpents. So he went through all of that, which is just stupid all by itself, but okay. And then he gets to the promised land with these people. And God tell him, I can't let you go through. You remember you struck the rock, you're trying to take my glory. You remember you got mad, this, that, and the third, all these things you did. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to use you to get these folks to where I need you to get them to, but you don't get to go in. Not you. Not you, the one who is making all this possible. See, all of that shit that you've been given, you need to wipe all that away and throw it away. That's not how the beings of independent spirituality get down. That is not how your soul team, your spirit team gets down. And that should not be how you get down. One of the things that helps me because I miss church. I miss certain things, especially choirs. Oh, I miss gospel music so bad. And I tell you, if some come on that I used to like, I'll still listen and jam to it because I know who my God is. I'm it. I'm she. So if I'm talking about the Lord and that God and all that kind of stuff, I am only talking about my highest self. But just the same, when I feel untethered sometimes, a little bit like, how do you determine the next step with all this freedom? I remember that within my being is a key and a map and clues. And there's this inner guidance that's there. And all I got to do, I ain't got to be perfect. I ain't got to quit cussing. I ain't got to quit eating meat. I ain't got to quit. I ain't got to start steaming my yoni. I ain't got to start wearing a bindi. I ain't got to shave all my hair. I ain't got to do anything but get silent and make space for it to speak to me. And in any moment where I'm unsure, the surety of that voice will guide me. because it's with me and it's in me, my God spark. I can hear my oversoul. I don't give a damn what nobody say. They cannot separate me from my divine self. It gives life to this body. And even after this body gives up and is used up, I am it. So the part of me that's speaking to you right now is the divine essence of me that is in and given occupation to this vessel. This is a vessel. But what's in it, what you hear, that's divine essence. You are not meant to, or were not born to, or created to, however you want to say it. Bow your knee from one God to the next, to the next, to the next. I love Ganesh, and I love Oshun, and I love, Kai Shin, and I love Saraswati, and I love Parvati and Isis and Oya and Oshun, and just, I think I said her already. But I love all these daddies. I love them, love them, love them. I'm not bowing my knee to not one, because it's not necessary. Neither have I ever been asked to bow my knee. It's a lot of people out here that's going to sell you fantastical stories about these deities and how you should be so afraid and how you should not do this and you got to do this. And they'll give you all these religious rules because religiosity is an energy. And when we talk about God of the Bible, religiosity is the pathway of how he impedes upon everything. Even education is religiosity by another name. Education gives you new words and new ways to communicate with your people and identify them. Y'all, every time I get ready to do a paper for psychology, not every time, but most times, I'll end up with something being done, use psychological terminology. Why, when you know what I mean? Why? When you know what I mean? Because we want to be able to identify you. You need to be identifiable based upon how you speak, how you carry yourself, or how you dress, or what your practices are. You are vegan, you are vegetarian, you are this, you are that, you are this. Hey, where's the freedom in that? We're so happy to give up our freedoms. Moses, I wouldn't say was happy to give up his freedom, but he did. He did it because he believed in the essence that was speaking to him, because he saw something in that essence that he didn't see in himself. And that has been the reason why the majority of us give up our autonomy and our divinity, because we don't see in ourselves what something else may see, but we see it in that something else. And we never stop to question whether or not what we're doing in the name of these gods, of these facilities, these establishments upon this earth, we never stop to wonder if that's the right thing to do. Now, for us, it's not about right or wrong for the whole world, right or wrong for us. I'm for Kamala Harris. I don't make any bones about that. It's not because I think she got the power to change the whole world. No president has ever, and no president ever will. Right? That's not their job. It's just like being a president at school. When we was in school, we had class president and all that kind of stuff. They didn't have no power. It ain't like they could tell us we ain't have to come to school today and then we weren't going to get in trouble. We still had teachers and principals that were over them. They were just representatives of the people. To the people who most of us can't just go and run talk to whenever we get ready. It ain't no different. I mean, they literally modeled it after our system. So, I mean, you ain't got to be woke, and that ain't deep to say the presidents, they just, you know what I'm saying? Well, yeah, duh. We've been doing that. You know that in junior high school, okay? But it is because of what she represents for every little girl that will ever see her, for every black person who will ever see her, every black woman who has been raped, sodomized, abused, molested, unalived for whatever reason, who has been mistreated, not heard, not supported, and felt like all of this shit is in vain, for all the people who died just being a mother, just being a wife, whose promise and hope and joy and desires died inside of them. That's why I'm for Kamala. because somebody's going to see her and they're going to believe. Somebody's going to see her and they're going to dig in deeper and pull out their own greatness. Somebody's going to see her no matter what she does as president, no matter what she does. And so there is no part of me that will not. I was for Hillary Clinton because she was a woman. If you think that we are only awake and only spiritually aware when we become unaffiliated with everything that has to do with this life, don't buy nothing else, don't be materialistic, don't do this, don't do that, don't get involved in politics, don't, people who teach like that are very dangerous. They are not great mentors. They are not great thought leaders. I know they mean well, but the reality is you took up a body, you divine, beautiful thing, you, for a reason. And it was not to pretend to be divine in this divine body and disengage from everything, because you could just stay where you were. Your soul is not new, and this ain't your first rodeo. Moses didn't know who he was, if the story is to be believed, right? He didn't know who he was. He was out there complaining, talking about he couldn't talk. He didn't know what he could do. But this is what you got to imagine. Even if the world only had 5 million people at the time, Moses was first choice of a whole different entity to be used for something that great, that story would be told for thousands and thousands of years. Moses was. It's those moments right there where you have to come to realize you are great and you are a purposeful, powerful individual. You don't need the validation of others to be great, and you don't need the agreement. If nobody else around you agrees with you, if it's true for you, the beautiful thing about that is you become an experience for them to have, and they an experience for you to have. I have been a preacher, a teacher, a guide, a thought leader for so long. It has been over 20 years. And I have taken many different forms of how I did it. The reality is there will always be people who won't agree with how you do it. But now I've been in this long enough to see that all the advice I got from the beginning until now, I'm the only one of all the people who had something to say that's still standing. You are the answer. You got to trust. Don't let these stories of these broken, discombobulated ass deities and these religious systems and how they create their stories turn you from the divinity that is within you and all of that divinity that surrounds you for you to have a great life. Guys, check out our store online. It's magicalmystic.com. You can also sign up for the Money Mentorship or the Divinity Academy Apprenticeship if you want mentorship. There's coaching there. There's various services there. And then there's all these products, including the Klonick Money Master shirt. Okay, in various colors. It's on the site. And if you want to take some classes, start with Foundations of Mysticism at divinityacademy.com. It's a very inexpensive class because I just want to be able to introduce that information to as many people as I can. And then there's other classes that's more advanced if you are more advanced. And don't forget to check out our new podcast, Moments of Mindfulness. The TV show is now officially Moments of Mindfulness, the podcast. We are on YouTube. It's at Moments of Mindfulness Podcast. We're on Buzzsprout, Apple Music, everywhere where you can get your SoundCloud, all of that. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can find Emme Rain, okay, Lucretia Moore, and her podcast. So definitely check that out, and I look forward to talking to you guys again. Have a great one.